Welcome to Roofing Road Trips with Heidi. Explore the roofing industry through the eyes of a long-term professional within the trade. Listen for insights, interviews, and exciting news in the roofing industry today.
We are live in Waukesha, Wisconsin at the MTL Holdings Corporate Headquarters. And I am here with Eric Younkin. Did I say that right?
Yep, Younkin.
Yep, Younkin. I am here with Eric Younkin, and we are live on YouTube to talk about the RT3 meeting and what MTL Holdings is doing with the technology. You guys are just amazing. This has been just a wonderful visit.
Awesome. Yeah, we're glad to have you.
So let's start out with an introduction. Can you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Tell everybody about you.
Eric Younkin. I'm the Vice President of Products and Engineered Services here at MTL. Been in the roofing industry since the late 1990s. So been doing this a while. It's been a great career, great industry to be in, and really today was really exciting, talking about innovation, technologies, what we can do to help the industry. So I'm sure you're going to ask me more about that, but yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah, you know, and actually, before we get to that, because I really want to talk about RT3 Roofing Technology Think Tank, but can you tell us a little bit about MTL Holdings first?
Sure. MTL is basically a company of three brands. We're going to talk about Metal Era. Has been in business since the early 1980s. Premier manufacturer of perimeter edge systems. That's fascias, copings, gutters, and downspouts. Yeah. Also, we have the Hickman Edge Systems brand. So those two are together are the number one, number two most specified edge metal systems out in the marketplace.
I love it.
And then most recently, we added Citadel Architectural Products to the family. And they are a manufacturer of ACM or MCM panels, so aluminum composite or metal composite materials for the outside of the building envelope. So wall systems, also interior uses.
Yeah.
So we get into some specialties, ambulances, things of that sort. But yeah, so it's our first step off of the edge.
Yeah, off the edge. Yes. I like it, on the building envelope there or around it. I have to tell you, just Metal Era, Hickman, such great names, such great brands. Citadel, we're getting to know. I actually worked with Hickman many years ago with Scott Hickman, so I've just been kind of a fan, and I've worked with Metal Era for so many years. And so being here today and doing the plant tour, really getting to hear about all the new technology, the stats, what's happening, how these companies are making such a difference with the labor shortage too. It was really impressive.
Well, hopefully we showed it today on our plant tour. It's really through our use of robotics.
Yeah.
Been using robotics since the early 2000s. And you know, 65% of our products are manufactured robotically. That means a couple things. One, it's precision. It's really what we have what we call our spec promise, which is speed, protection, expertise, and quality.
It was everywhere. We saw it everywhere. You guys are so great at messaging. Yeah.
And so, you know, really what the robotics does is speed. It doesn't speed it up, but it's a continuous process.
Yeah.
So on our one machine, every 45 seconds, we're going from basically a blank raw material, sheared, bent, all the way down to a finished good. So it's very consistent. So that's where we get our speed. That helps us build our inventory. So 65% is manufactured robotically. Of that 65%, a vast majority of that is next day shipped. So if you order today, we can get that out the door next day. Jeez. So the other 35% is more what I would say custom parts. A lot of copings, wall variations, not only the wall width, but the face height, face heights on the inside and outside. So those are hard to manufacture and stock. So that's probably the other 35%. So the robotics really does it. Like I said, 65% is done robotically and managed through a minimal number of folks in the shop. Then that allows the other folks to go out and do the accessories and the other custom parts.
Right. And what I saw out there, I mean, you just can't imagine this. It's robotic arms that are moving, breaking, forming, doing all those things, all from a coil.
Yep.
The coil comes in. But also throughout the plant, it's not just the robotic arms. There are all kinds of different automations and processes and continuing improvement, improvement that come from the employees.
Yes, absolutely. We actually, every year we have the Gene Mallinger Innovation Award. And we really pride ourselves on listening to our employees and letting them give us ideas.
Yeah.
You know, even when you go to the picking of our materials, our combine lifts, and how do we get in and get our materials out. And if you go through the plant, and as you went through today, they start you at one end, and you'll see that there's a very precise flow from the raw material all the way out to the shipping department.
Right.
And that's how you kind of walk through the plant. And it's designed that way, so that way we can make flow easy. And with as much material as we have going back and forth, not a lot of tow motor traffic.
Yeah.
So we're trying to minimize it.
Yeah.
And the other thing is we talk about the robotics, and I'm sure Brad shared it with you on the
Yeah.
tour, our QC checks.
Oh, yes. It
So
was,
when we pull these parts off, or when the robot pulls this off of the machine, and we actually go through some QC checks, and we know right away, boom, red light,
Yeah.
shut down.
Yeah.
So QC consistently done, so that way we're not running large amounts of product. So that's another part of that, that spec promise.
I think that was one of my favorite parts, is when you actually had one robotic arm handing it to another robotic thing, and it was taking pictures of it and turning it around and then putting it back, and it was really impressive.
Yeah, and that's what I think a lot of people don't get to see.
Yeah.
And when they come visit, do a plant tour, and trust me, we encourage you, come join us. We'd love to have you.
Well worth it. So great.
When you see that, everybody's like, wow.
Yeah.
Contractors that may have their own shop, they might say, man, I see where I can use you in certain instances or for these types of cases. Because, we understand contractors might bend their own metal. That's fine.
Yeah.
But hey, you might have an instance where it makes sense. And so I think it's really cool. And everybody that comes through, they walk away. And even today, some of the contractors, part of RT3,
Right.
they're like, that was really cool. So kind of, you wouldn't expect that.
You wouldn't expect. And one of the things I really liked is the story, or I guess you could call it a story, that Brad told about the contractor who had a full sheet metal shop, but was able, working with Metal Era and Hickman, was able to actually repurpose the metal shop to do other things and get all the accessories, metal, edge, everything that he needed faster.
Yes. So there are contractors that, like you said, do have their own metal shops that could say, I don't have enough capacity in my shop to do everything I need. So if you can help do these things,
Yeah.
That can free up their labor to not only do that, but maybe get them on the roof and actually become a profit center.
Right.
So they're actually installing, because let's face it, in the industry, labor is a huge concern.
Yeah.
So, if we're able to repurpose labor to help the contractor, that's just going to make things a lot easier. Then, the design behind most of, or all of our products is really, how do we save the contractor money? You
Yeah.
learned today about our XL gutters.
Right.
Contractor feedback is 60% labor savings.
Yeah.
So that's, you couple that with us taking on the manufacturing of it, we're hopefully giving them the opportunity to really reinvest their labor, like I said, onto the roof, onto being a profit center for them.
I think in Brad's numbers, it was over 2,200 by what Metal Era and Hickman are doing, or MTL Holdings, is actually saving 2,200 jobs.
So we believe that if you took the whole edge metal market based upon what the industry says is the annual square footage,
Right.
and if we could extrapolate that out into what we think the perimeter edge opportunity is, if we manufactured the perimeter edge metal for the industry, we would save 2,200 jobs.
That's
a lot of
incredible.
jobs.
That's a lot of jobs. When we're in such shortage and looking, it's incredible. The other thing, Eric, that we talked about today that I found fascinating was really talking about building codes, and just the importance of, as an industry, really not only meeting building codes, but really taking it to that next step to save lives, and risk mitigation in that. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so risk mitigation is an interesting topic for us to talk about. There's a lot of stats we have through Factory Mutual, other insurance companies,
Yeah.
where they understand when it comes to roof failures, a vast majority, 60%, is caused by perimeter edge failure. And there's some insurance companies that have built in their mitigation strategy by mandating you have to meet certain requirements. FM is a perfect example. They require that in order to be insured, you have to have an FM tested and approved assembly. And they've mitigated the risk. So really, risk mitigation, controlling the exposure and the amount of failures, comes down to proper design and proper installation.
Right.
And so really, with what we do with all of our designs and our products, is how do we minimize the potential and eliminate that or mitigate that risk. It's as simple as pre-punched holes. We make sure in all of our cleats, the holes are punched in exact locations, that we know the exact spacing, because our systems have been tested with that spacing for ES1 or FM, or if it's Miami-Dade.
Right.
So we know exactly where they're at, and they're in the precise location, so they're going to hit the middle of the nailer. That's pretty key.
Yeah.
We also make sure that we give the exact screws or fasteners that were used, and we also go that far to make sure that the drivers are included. So that way, everything that's going to be installed meets the test report, and therefore you're going to have a code compliant sheet or a code compliant system.
And I think there's a lot of contractors who maybe don't understand ES1 or GT1, and we are going to be doing a lot on the coffee shop with you over the next couple months, really trying to understand these building codes, understand how important they are. But I think sometimes it gets a little bit lost in the confusion of people just thinking, here's another thing I have to do, when really what it's doing is saving lives.
Yeah, it's saving lives. It's minimizing that risk. So ES1 came into existence in 2003. 20 years later, there's still a lot of misconception about what ES1 is. ES1 is not an approval that you get as a manufacturer or as a contractor. It's a very specific test for a specific product or system. So whether your fascia height is 6-inch or 8-inch, it's that specific assembly. It's a 6-inch assembly that's tested. It's an 8-inch assembly that's tested. So it's very specific to the product. I'm not Metal Era, Hickman.
Yeah.
They're not ES1 certified shops. There's no such thing.
Right.
We have ES1 certified or tested assemblies.
Assemblies, okay.
So that's important to understand. So that's been a code for 20 years, and there's still that misconception out there. So recently, in 2021, IBC adopted the GT1 standard, the ANSI SPRA GT1 standard. So that is being adopted, I think right now, somewhere between 15 to 20 states. So let's say 17 states have adopted the 21 International Building Code. Many more are adopting it moving forward. I know Florida is adopting it at the end of this year. So
Okay.
in 2024, that'll be part of the Florida Building Code. So as this gets adopted into the building code, I think the adoption rate is going to be a lot faster than ES1 was, because a lot more people are familiar with it. But I still think there's going to be a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
And the GT1 test standard, it's not designed to prevent, let's say, gutter failure.
Right.
That's really what it's going to do. But what it does, or the intent is, how do we prevent roof failures from gutters that are coming off of the roof? A lot of time, if a gutter is going to peel off of a roof, it's going to come up over the nailer, and your membrane will now be compromised. So that's the intent. How do we prevent roof loss through protecting our gutters? So the GT1 test has, there's 3 parts to the test. There's an upward test, an outward test, and a downward test. So you have snow load, wind load, on up and down. So those are the 3 components of the GT1 test.
And so you know you're getting the right products that are going to perform.
Yes.
I mean, if they pass these tests. Today, and by the way, we are going to be having a lunch and learn on GT1 in December. So that will be a great, to be able to educate your whole company on that. But I just, when I think about that, I learned so much. Some things just went off in my head today, Eric. I was like, first of all, on your Falcon technology, which we've had a lot. You can find that on the coffee shop where you're measuring the roofs. Mold day is vehicle view, but I was always like thinking, oh, this is all for estimating. But no, it's for the safety of the building, that the right system, the right measurements, the right fit, so that you are meeting those building codes.
Yeah, so the Falcon's another, probably one of our greatest examples of technology. And really, it's designed to help that person on the roof who's measuring for coping, soon to be fascia and gutters and downspouts, that we're getting exact measurements. We're accurate down to 1/1000th of an inch, 100th of a degree. And really what it does is it captures the data instantaneously as well. So we don't have to worry about writing anything on a pad of paper or anything like that. We still have the ability to use our brains within the application to what we call nudge things. But really the intent is we have rules set up so we know that if the variation of the wall width changes by so much, it's like, hey, stop, you need to have an inline transition, because otherwise your gap's going to be too big in your wall. Now you have wind on coastal environments, more salt air coming up into there. So it's really designed for protection and speed. so we could give our contractors a better product, a better service.
You know, I'd like to end this live roofing road trip with really kind of going over that story about the facility. I think it was in Pearl, Mississippi.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes.
And it was, to me, that just summed up everything that we talked about today and how important building codes, risk mitigation, and the performance that is coming from consistent robotic, you know, everything you're all doing. So
Yeah.
tell that story real quick.
So real quick, it was a facility in Pearl, Mississippi, and the project was specified to be ES1, and the fascia size exceeded our test requirements or what was tested for our specific products. So when the consultant was aware, they're like, hey, I need something that's ES1. We said, we don't have it tested. Let us go test. So we took it, because it was a rather large fascia size, over 9.5 inches. So we went and we tested it and we said, you know what? It doesn't meet the requirements for the wind speeds you have. Therefore, we should increase the gauge thickness of the cleat. So we were able to do that. Couple months later, I believe it was, a tornado hit that building, close to that building. The roof that was perpendicular to that building totally tore off, tearing the walls off, complete devastation. That particular roof, literally same level, right next to it, I would say unaffected in terms of the edge metal. There was some damage because mechanical units blew across and hit things up. But I think if we didn't test and we had a lighter gauge product, and it didn't meet the requirements, you know, the pressures didn't meet the requirements of that building, it could have been a lot worse. So.
It could have been. And the thing that really drove it home is that the people who were in the building that the roof tore off of, right next door, ran to the building with your edge metal on it that had been tested, was ES1, and they took shelter.
Yep.
And so sometimes we get caught up in so much of the specifications and the building codes and everything like that, but they're there because it saves lives.
It is. That's the intent, to provide a longer lasting system and really to mitigate your risk. And that risk is everything from dollars to lives.
Yeah.
And lives being definitely more important.
Most important. It is. Well, Eric.
At metalair.com or hickmanedgesystems.com. Reach out to those. There's a contact us on that page. We do have our reps available. Or if they have your contact, just make sure you get in touch with Heidi as well.
You know what? Go to the directories on Rivers Coffee Shop for both Metal Era and Hickman, and you can find all this information there and get into the website. But however you get there, check it out because it can really take your business to a whole new level. And I'm just thrilled to be here in person. Thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. Thanks to the RT3 group. If you guys don't know about it, it's really a bunch of people that are really trying to bring technology to the market and kind of come up with that next thing that's going to help us, whether that be for labor savings, protection. So good group. So check them out if you get a chance.
Yeah, today was all about robots. So yeah, we like this kind of technology. Well, be sure to check out all of our podcasts under the RLW navigation for Read, Listen, Watch and Roofing Road Trips. And also on your favorite podcast channel, be sure to subscribe and set your notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave a review. Thanks for listening. This has been Roofing Road Trips with Heidi from therooferscoffeeshop.com.